Do you like mushrooms? Do you like monsters? How about mushroom monsters? Or maybe you just need some magical spells to give a visual representation of how awesome your sorcerer is in Dungeons & Dragons. Well, have I got some miniatures to show you this month. So let's jump in and take a look at the Dragon Trapper's Lodge. Hello and welcome back to Getting Handsy. This month I would like to introduce you to the Dragon Trapper's Lodge. They specialize in all sorts of fantasy miniatures for your RPGs, wargames, and board games. Their library on My Mini Factory has well over 1,000 options to choose from. Whether you were looking for ferocious sea-dwelling monstrosities or cute food animal hybrids, they probably have something for you and your gaming needs. When I first started following them, they were basically just making unique hunters and monsters each month. And while the models have always been really cool to look at, I really only thought they would be useful for RPGs or very unique proxies. As a wargamer who doesn't typically play many RPGs, unique one-off models aren't really that helpful to me. But then they started a more wargaming-centric, one-page rules-focused option, and that immediately drew me in. So nowadays, they have a couple different options each month. The Trapper tier, which is more focused on unique characters, monsters, etc., and then the Soldier tier, which strives to create fully playable armies for one-page rules and other wargames. This month, the Trapper tier has the Masters of the Weave. These are a collection of magical hunters, ghoulish undead, and mystical spell effects. When I was checking these out, I saw these magical hands and I had to print one. I don't really know why, but they were calling to me. Now in my head, these would be just forces of magical energy in the shape of a hand, so that's kind of how I tried to paint it. Besides the brick base, I basically just went with a completely blue color scheme, because I thought blue made kind of a cool magical color, I guess for, well, magic. I started with some darker reds on the base, then progressively got lighter, and then put some washes on. Same with the blues. I started with the darker blues on the bottom, then added some lighter blue highlights. I tried to kind of finalize everything with some very light, they weren't white, but very light blue, like wrinkle highlights, to try and give it a little bit more, texture. And I don't know, I think it turned out pretty well. It's not perfect, but nothing is. And while I don't think it's exactly how I saw it in my head, it's pretty darn close. And in the grand scheme of things, I think that's all you can really ask for. So I'll just have to take it for what it is and, work harder next time. So there's that. Next, we have the Soldier tier, and this month is part 2 of the Spore Sovereign. These are creatures that have been completely overtaken by some sort of fungus, like The Last of Us or Annihilation. While part 1 was basically made of just mushroom creatures, part 2 shows where the fungus has taken over other animals and humanoids. From large chocobo-like birds to chunky ogres, no one is safe from the spores. Now, before I even decided what creator I wanted to print this month, when I was looking through all the countless files I've been getting, my eyes were drawn to this poor pig deer thing. There's just something about the shape and the fact that in a sea of fungal monsters, it was really the only creature that felt kind of like sad and non-threatening. Almost like if Eeyore had just kind of laid down and let nature overtake him. Anyway, while I knew I had to go with him as my model for this month, I didn't really know how I wanted to paint him, so I just kind of started throwing some paint on there. I went with like a purple and pink, and then a green, color scheme. Because I thought it looked cool, and it's kind of jokery now, but it doesn't really look like the Joker, I guess, at the end, so that's good. I basically tried to stick to those 3 colors, so everything is kind of a mix of pink, purple, or green. I also mixed it with a little bit of speed paints to try and get some depth in there, but then went back over it with the regular colors to try and get the highlights back in. Everything took a couple layers to get, thick enough, I think, but I don't know, in the end they turn out pretty vibrant. To break up the big pink areas, I then gave some dots on the mushrooms and some other highlights around the other pink areas like the face. I added some minor green bits to the base, but for the most part I left it pretty muddy. And here's how it turned out in the end. Pretty simple, just basically the 3 colors mix and matched back and forth. And then some speed paints to get some shadows, but I don't know, the dots really help, I think, kind of pop that top. So, cool. Now, like a lot of other 3D model subscriptions, the Dragon Trappers Lodge gives out a welcome pack the first time you subscribe to them. Theirs includes a few hunters, monsters, and dragons to add to your library. So I went ahead and printed this comet sorcerer to go with my magical hand. It's not quite the same magic, but I felt thematically it worked. Now I'm gonna be honest, my only plan for this was a yellow tunic, and that was the most difficult part of this whole process, because I could not get any yellow that I wanted to work. So I kept kind of going back and forth, trying to get something going. So I would try some yellow and then put something over it to try and thicken it up, and so it wasn't so, I guess, see-through. And then, yeah, I just had to eventually use a bunch of yellow, like 2 different kinds, and then with like a purple yellow in the middle for the shadows. Then I decided to go with the purple cloak and some brown. They were technically purple yellow pants that's kind of a brown, so I stuck with just a purple and yellow scheme. After I had some base colors, I put some washes on basically everything except for the yellow. I then tried to build up some kind of highlight layers, especially on the cloak, which seems to be one of the better parts of the whole model, so. In the end, I think I really just got some nice purples on the cloak. That's really about the only thing I'm proud of on this mini, to be honest. But it was just something to do and more practice, so, that's how things go sometimes. Looking past my poor paint jobs, if you see any of these 3D models that might be something that would interest you, you have about a week left to subscribe for the current month before the price for the package goes up. If you want the Hunters and Monsters tier, that's the Trapper tier, it's $12. Or if you want to go with the more wargaming focused one, that's the Soldier tier, that's also $12. If you want both, the best option is the Veteran tier, and that's $18, so it saves you a little bit of money. There is also a small dollar tier called the Lore Master tier, where you get 1 mini each month and then like the D&D stats. So that might be a good introductory tier if you don't want to spend a whole lot but want something. Now, if you decide to wait and you want to buy these packs in the future, the price goes up dramatically. For example, if you want the previous month's pack, say part 1 of the Spore Sovereign, you can buy the individual units a la carte for $5 to $8 a piece, or the whole month for $50, which is significantly higher than the current $12. You also do get a pretty good discount for subscribing though. So if you're looking at some of their older backlog stuff, you can subscribe for a month, take advantage of that discount, and then cancel. That being said, in the US, we are coming up to Thanksgiving and Black Friday, so there is actually a big sale on My Mini Factory right now. And during this time, the Dragon Trappers Lodge is offering 50% off to everyone on, I believe, anything in their library. So now would be the perfect time to stock up on anything that you really need or want. So there we have it, another month down, another awesome creator discovered. What do you think of the Dragon Trappers Lodge? Are there any models you can't wait to print and paint? What creator should we look at next month? Let me know all of these things or anything else you want to discuss down in the comments below. Also, on a side note, I haven't exactly worked out what I want these combo videos to be, but I do enjoy the mix of showing off cool creators and then painting their miniatures. It has been fun practice for me, so hopefully they are at least somewhat enjoyable for you all as well. Either way, I appreciate you all watching the randomness that are my videos. So, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Until next time, thanks for watching.